everyone. There was a great race at Kansas last weekend. And Nick, for the second week in a row, you have picked the winner. You had Truex back at Dover. You picked Hamlin to win Kansas, and he did. Hi, everyone. My name is Dan. This is my son, Nick. Nick, are you going to a job interview or something that I don't know about?
No, you hyped up this awards episode, so I figured I'd get well dressed and ready to give out some awards for the mid NASCAR season. But yeah, I picked Hamlin, and I'll skip ahead. My sleeper pick, Wallace, got top 5. He was 4th place. A great race at Kansas. I thought it was a really good race, and the good guys win in the end. They beat out the 200 guys. I thought it was a nice one.
It was a good race. There were times when Chevy was doing good in the race. There was times when Toyota, especially at the end, were the best cars in the field. My pick to win the race, Nick, Christopher Bell, he was last place.
Yeah, that's just unfortunate because really all the Toyotas had been good, and then 2 of them getting an accident. Ty Gibbs also got an accident, but I mean, I don't know if anyone's ever picked a last place on this show.
But that was the 12th race of the season. We have 26 races in the regular season before the playoff begins. So the official halfway point of the regular season will be this weekend after Darlington is complete. Then, of course, we have the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro, and then we complete the rest of the regular season until we get to the playoffs. But this episode and the next, we're going to spread it out and make it a big deal. Our mid-regular season awards. So we don't have any set categories like the Oscars or the ESPYs or something like that. But we've got some awards some that I came up with, and Nick, some that you came up with, and we're just going to throw them all together and see what we've got. The first award I want to present is the 40th place award. This is going to go to the only driver who has finished 40th in a Cup race this season. Of course, that was at Daytona, the only track where there were 40 cars in the field. But this award goes to Ty Dillon. And we'll give that to Ty Dillon, not only because he finished 40th, but he has also really earned this award because he has finished 11 out of 12 races this season outside of the top 20.
That is crazy. And there's only so many names that you can really think 40th place. Ty Dillon would be one of them. Deserving word. Congrats to Ty Dillon.
Yeah. And, you know, he's actually a good driver. I think he's just in rotten equipment, and he's been the worst driver who has entered every race this season.
Okay, so for my first award, I called this the I'm Just Here award. Goes to Ryan Blaney. He's always just there. We talk about him some weeks we just don't mention him because there's nothing to say. Not once this season have I really thought that he was going to win a race after watching the first 20 or so laps. He might have been out front. He's just there. Top 10, he's there. He has 3 top 5s and 2 second places, but still, Ryan Blaney's just there.
Well, and I guess there's a little bit of positive and negative to that, but hopefully Ryan Blaney can just get a win and give that award back to us by the time the playoffs come around.
I hope so.
I've got 2 awards that I'm calling the Mr. Consistency Award. This first one is Mr. Consistency in a bad way. And this award goes to Harrison Burton. Of all the drivers who have entered all the races, all 12 so far this season, Harrison Burton has the smallest range between his best and worst finishes of the year. His best finish is 15th. His worst finish is 36th. So he has been consistently worse than 15th or worse all season long.
Yeah, with such a short window, 15th. I'm surprised it was 15th. Sometimes he's decent, but...
Yeah, he actually has 2 15th place finishes.
Mm-hmm. But other than that, though, not much you can really say. It's his second year. Hopefully he's still growing, getting into it. But I also have a 2-part, 2-way tie sort of award. This is called the What Happened to You Award.
Oh.
So my first person in this is going to be Daniel Suarez, who at the start of the playoffs last season was 12th. He I think he made it to the next round, or to the round of 12, past 16.
Mm-hmm.
And he's had 4 top 10s this year, but 3 of them were the first 3 races. With Chastain's momentum and all of that, I had big hopes for Chastain, which he's kind of delivering, but I figured
Mm-hmm.
Suarez would be by his side, sometimes running up front with him. Not that much production from Suarez. It hasn't been the case. And it's just, what happened to you? You fell off a little. Are you going to win? Are you going to get top 10s?
That's a good observation. So then my next one is Mr. Consistency in a good way. And Nick, you really have inspired the name of this award this season because it's the guy that you have called Mr. Consistency, Kevin Harvick. If you take away one 33rd place finish, which was Atlanta this season, then Kevin Harvick has finished between 5th and 21st in every race. Mr. Consistency.
That's very impressive stat line. And I probably call him Mr. Consistency just about every week, but he really is. And with this being his last season, I think he's doing really well. It's just the win that's escaped him so far.
Yes, and he's had those 5th place finishes. Do you think maybe Darlington is a place he can do better than 5th or somewhere else?
I think Darlington is always an option for Kevin Harvick. I'm still not worried. There's a lot more races to go, and I feel like he can pull it out on one of them.
So we have 9 drivers who are in the playoffs with a win so far. Kevin Harvick, even if he doesn't win, right now he's 5th in the points. So unless it gets a lot like last year, he's looking pretty good right now.
The next man that I have in my What Happened to You award is a guy that I also really like, Austin Cindric. Austin Cindric has had 2 top 10s this season, and since the start of April, his best finish has been 19th place. Not great results all around. It's another fall off from last season. What happened? You won Daytona. You made it that far in the playoffs. I mean, you didn't make it far in the playoffs, but you made it that far in the season, and it's just been lackluster this first half of the season. Not many great results. In terms of driver point standings, he's 21st right now, which is not ideal.
No.
Suarez, I didn't mention this. He's actually 16th as of right now, so he would make the playoffs. But I don't want to put that up to chance because there's still a couple guys you got to take into account. Chase Elliott is down there in the points too, which we see him getting a win. So both Suarez and Cindric, what happened to you? It hurts because I really like this guy. He's a young driver. Yeah. I loved watching him in Xfinity, and last season too, he had some really good performances, but it hasn't been coming up to par with what I expected so far. What's your next award?
My next award is called the Could Have Been Worse Award. And I'm giving this one to Denny Hamlin. Of course, Denny Hamlin just got his first win, locked himself into the playoffs last week at Kansas. But Denny Hamlin, in the 12 races this season, has not finished worse than 23rd. An appropriate number for number 11, not finishing worse than 23-11. But Denny Hamlin has really been on a hot streak lately. And to add to that, he had a lot of finishes where he probably said it could have been worse.
Oh, for sure. And that's also an interesting statistic. I mean, I was really worried this season that he was going to be really bad and have to warm up the first couple of weeks, but he came out solid. And like you said, the last couple of weeks, he's really been heating up. He's got his win now, and I think he's just going to ride it out. Maybe some more top 5s. Darlington could be a good one for him also. But for sure, it could have been worse for Hamlin.
So you and I have been pretty cold on Hamlin as far as just liking him as a driver. Would you say that you're warming up to him at all, or you're just observing he's on a hot streak?
I actually would say that I am warming up to him. Kind of like the Kyle Busch angle. Last season, I couldn't stand the guy. Now he's on RCR. He's got Austin Dillon. I like him a little more. Hamlin, too. I keep saying every week I need to listen to his podcast, but Hamlin is also slightly growing on me, slightly. My next award is Rookie of the Year, and the pool's not very wide for who could win this award, but I decided that Ty Gibbs should get it. He had those 3 9th-place finishes a couple weeks ago in a row. He's cooled off a bit, but overall, I think he's been a solid driver. He's been up, then he's fallen back down, but I think it's been a good rookie season so far for Ty Gibbs.
He was pretty good last week until he had that issue where he cut a tire and then ended up,
Yeah.
tearing up his car after that.
And for being such a young guy, I think he's kind of meshing well with the Joe Gibbs team. And it's not like we've got a bunch of good finishes and then it drops off really far. Ty Gibbs has been up there. He's been competing well. I think he'll continue doing that.
The next award I would like to present is called the All or Nothing Award. This award goes to Kyle Larson. Why do you ask? Because in 10 out of 12 races, Kyle Larson has finished either top 5 or 29th or worse. In 10 out of 12 races, all or nothing.
That's funny. 10 races. It really is all or nothing. And while a lot of those high finishes isn't really his fault, it's funny how he'll have a terrible engine problem, be 30th, and then next week he'll be running for first and finish top 5. So it's worked out with his wins and his points. It's just funny.
Yeah, so that has reflected in where he is in the point standings. Of course, he has 2 wins, but he sits 8th in the point standings because he has 5 top 5 finishes. He has 5 finishes of 29th or worse. A lot of those have been not his fault. In fact, you could probably say most of them have not been for his fault. But there you go, Kyle Larson.
Okay, and for my last award this week, I originally called it Career Revival. I felt like that was too extreme. So I'm giving the Second Wind Award to Martin Truex Jr. It's not like his career was dead, but last season I saw it as major lackluster. And I think he even was going to make it into the playoffs before Austin Dillon won that last race, which booted him, or it might have been Blaney, but he was on the edge. He comes in this season, wins the exhibition race. Now he's got 5 top win, and he surprisingly has never finished in the 30s and only finished in the 20s once, which was 27th. So he's got a lot of momentum going for him this season, and I just see it as a second wind from last season. We didn't know what was going on. Was he going to retire? A luster season, and now he's back. He's going to be in the playoffs.
And I would just add to that, it seems like maybe the last 4 or so weeks that he's even that second wind has been increasing because he's had some, of course he had the win, but he's had some really good results at these last tracks. And like you've mentioned, the couple of tracks ahead of us, his track record there is extremely good. The last award that I want to give on this episode is the best driver without a win. And you might guess who I'm going to give this to, but I'll just go ahead and give you the stats. This driver has 3 top 3s, 5 top 5s, and he has finished 15th or better in a series leading 9 races, 15th or better. Yet he has not yet won a race. He sits first in the point standings, and that is Ross Chastain.
I figured that coming, and not even just from personal. I like the guy, but he has been that good and hasn't won yet. Again, I know I'm saying this for a lot of people, but I see a win coming for Ross Chastain.
Yes, it's got to be coming. And, I think statistically, that's the award he needs to get. We could also give, I don't know what you might call it, the headliner award. He's always in the headlines after every race. The love him or hate him award, because it seems like he divides the fan base. You either love him or you hate him. You can't be neutral on him.
No, for sure. He could win so many awards. I think he's just going to show us with his racing what he thinks, and hopefully it'll give him great results.
Best driver without a win, making headlines, love him or hate him. Nick, what would you think about giving Ross Chastain the Right Hook Award?
Oh, for sure he gets the Right Hook Award after that performance on Sunday.
Yes. So I think, I've heard a lot of people say a lot of things. I think I could come to the conclusion that Noah Gragson came out of this not looking so great. If he wanted to have his fair shot before security breaks up the fight, then he probably just should have come in swinging to begin with.
And you saw him grab Chastain's shirt, and Chastain immediately neutralizes Gragson's right hand you can hear in the recording Chastain saying stop, which Gregson doesn't stop. So Chastain takes his shot, and there's two big security guys that jump right in. I
Yes,
went to the gym the next day and saw it on the news. So headliner for sure. Chastain is bringing NASCAR into the news. For it's not. It wasn't even like it's a huge fight. It was just a right hook and like a verbal disagreement. But
that's right. So Chastain is definitely bringing eyeballs to the sport. You go back to last season with the watermelon, the Miracle on Melon Street or whatever that thing was called, and then it just seems like every week somebody's mad at him. There was even the big deal and all the memes that were created when one week the blame was placed on him and he actually didn't deserve it.
that happens about every week. I'd say that it's if Chastain's in the area, it's his fault. Whenever people are aggressively driving for the lead and they wreck like by themselves or they wreck someone else, no Chastain involvement, then it was an accident or something. But if Chastain does it, it's reckless. That's what they like to call.
Well, we don't have time to get the power rankings in this week, but I will let you know that based on Christopher Bell's self-inflicted error, I have, for the first time this season, dropped him out of my number one spot. And then next time we get to power rankings, you'll see where he is, unless he's made his way back to number one already.
That'd be crazy if he goes back. Unbelievable. I think it's been a long time coming. I know you liked holding out hope for him, but there's no way he's the number one driver this season so far, at least. Maybe he'll win at Darlington. We'll see. But let's talk about Darlington.
We've got Darlington is a track that is really like no other. Of course, it is the track Too Tough to Tame. It is the Lady in Black. And we've had a lot of good races at Darlington recently. Nick, I hope that this weekend the weather is good. I think that's almost a guarantee. I hope that the racing is just as good because Nick, you and I are gonna be there.
Gonna be there, but let's hope that this is a great race, one for the ages, with a great winner at the end. Let's hope.
Yes, so we're taking the whole family. We're gonna enjoy our time in Darlington, and it's gonna be Throwback Weekend.
I've seen a lot of good looking paint schemes coming around, and a lot of people talking about the throwback. There's going to be a lot of NASCAR legends, NASCAR racers at the race, some doing commentary throughout it. So it should be a fun event.
Yes, also the celebration of the top 75 drivers that they had 50, they've been adding the other 25 in these past few weeks. So that'll be neat to see. So last year's winner in the spring race was Joey Logano. And then in the fall, in the 500-mile race, the winner was Eric Jones.
I knew you'd like that. Eric Jones. I thought he was going to do really well last week, and he just caught up in a mess. It'd be crazy if Eric Jones wins.
Yeah, it would be crazy. I'll tell you, I just don't see it happening. Last year, Legacy Motorsports seemed like they had some spark. You saw Eric Jones performing really well in several weeks last season. This year, you just haven't seen it.
For this track, though, I don't know. I think Hendrick will be there. I don't know if it's going to be a dominant Hendrick one this week.
The trend has been usually the Fords or the Toyotas doing better at Darlington.
Yeah, so for sure, Toyota presence again. I think Hamlin and Bell are top contenders for this. Bubba Wallace even up there. Joey Logano could pull a repeat easily. I was looking at last spring. Michael McDowell was 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Michael McDowell, maybe him and Newman top 10. That'd also be pretty crazy.
And we get Ryan Newman back this week. Ryan Newman, first Cup race in 2 years.
I'm excited for Ryan Newman to show up. Hopefully, he'll have a good outing in that car. I know it's not going to be one of the faster ones, but maybe he can survive or something.
Another driver to watch is definitely going to be Tyler Reddick. He's in the Toyota this year. Last season at Darlington, he had finishes of 2nd and 3rd.
You just also have to take in the factor of people spinning out, possible wrecks. This is one of the more dangerous tracks with that.
Yes, there's going to be cars that'll probably be cutting tires. That'll be cars that are bumping up against the wall a good bit.
So who do you think is going to win?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it's going to be Tyler Reddick. and he's going to get his second win of the season.
Interesting Reddick pick. I hope he qualifies well. I think qualifying is going to be important with this one. On just if you qualify top 5, staying out in front of possible problems within the middle. I think that'll be crucial. My pick to win, I think he's going to win again like he did last spring. Joey Logano is going to win this race.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be dangerous. You saw how last week at Kansas, how he didn't have the greatest car, but you look up and suddenly he's there at the end. I believe he finished 6th. But he's going to be strong.
Consensus 3rd. I'm thinking that I'm not gonna put a Hendrick unless you want to convince me Larson should be our consensus 3rd.
Well, when we don't pick him to win, it seems like we always make him our consensus 3rd. We did that for him last week, and he was 2nd in the race, so it ended up being a good pick. But I don't know. There might be another driver or two that we could put in that position.
I think 2 Toyotas, Hamlin or Bell, possible 3rd picks.
Christopher Bell last season had finishes of 6th and 5th at Darlington. And then Denny Hamlin had a 21st, but then he had a 2nd place. He was right there behind Eric Jones. So let's think about between Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, and Kyle Larson. Who can you see being in front of that group by the end of this race? I think I might go with Hamlin this week. Or you think
I like the Hamlin.
Be better than Hamlin?
I like that over Bell, yeah.
Okay. So he's going to be our consensus top 3. And then I'm going to go ahead and jump in with my sleeper pick, a guy that always seems to do pretty well at Darlington is Austin Dillon. And I think you can look for him to be running in the top 10 or better by the end of this race.
I hope so. I hope Austin Dillon gets something going. I like him. Let's see something good from him. For my sleeper, I was thinking Harvick. He counts as a sleeper. He doesn't have a win, but I'm gonna go with Brad Keselowski as the sleeper pick to win at Darlington.
Okay. Well, once again, a guy who has been having good results, hasn't quite got it all done, but he always seems to be there. So I'd look out for Brad. So I've got a good feeling. I think this is going to be a great race at Darlington this weekend. Nick, you think we'll have some stories to share when we come back?
We should have some good stories. Kansas was great. I think Darlington could be even better. It's going to be a hot day, but good, clear weather, maybe even overcast. Let's hope for a good race.
And then we'll look forward to the All-Star race coming up the week after that. And in our next episode, we'll finish out our mid-season awards. Thanks for watching, everyone.